Hello and welcome to Ignore All Previous Instructions. It's me again, Pam, and Sarah, the cat lady. I'm assuming
Hello.
a former title that you've had here.
Oh,
Uh,
was it? I was trying to do new titles every time, and I don't
I
remember if I did
know.
this one or
I
not.
don't know if this one, I think you may
Maybe I
have
should
been.
start keeping a list.
Yeah, that's, and I don't know if I mentioned it every time though. I
True,
thought you would do
true.
something piratey today since we were
Mm,
R-ing before and
Or,
ahoying.
yeah, yeah. You greeted me ahoy, and it just felt naturally like, "Arr, matey."
Mm-hmm.
It just felt
Well,
natural for some
right.
reason.
Natural pirate disposition.
Yeah, yeah.
What are we talking about today, Sarah?
I was kind of thinking, we've discussed multiple times on this show. I feel like that I mentor an all girls robotics team. But kind of as a side pivot to that, one of the things I get a little bit of insight in is to kind of how students use technology in their education. And I think
Mm.
it's kind of interesting, partly in how it's evolved from back when I was a wee little child in school and the evolution of technology, just even in the course of while I was in school, to even in my early mentoring days, like how they use technology is different than like even now and kind of the path forward for all the I don't know if you've heard AI is becoming a thing. But I thought
Mm.
it would be kind of interesting to sort of uh take a little timeline through technology over the decades in education, but then sort of kind of pivot to like implications of it now. What do you think of this topic?
Oh, I think this is quite interesting. I wonder, yeah, how far did you get on your excavation?
Well, I dug deep for
How many
many
decades are we going back?
decades, hundreds of decades, thousands. No, I feel like before 1950, it hasn't really evolved that much. Just lots of books and oral teachings and stuff like that. Like I know I grew up in the early 80s, so elementary school was 80s, and then middle school was 90s, and high school was 90s up into the barely start of the 2000s for me. Um,
Hmm.
and I remember in elementary school there was just one little room that had like 25 computers in it. Each classroom had to like reserve it and you could get it only like once a week or something like that.
And you
And
take
so,
your class to computer
you take the
time.
whole class to the computer time. Yeah. And this is like the entire elementary school had this one room that they could reserve. Um, and over time to middle school where there were multiple computer labs to high school where um, you had multiple computer labs, but they were usually like for classes, so, like a whole entire class was held in there. So you know, you didn't necessarily like reserve the room because there were enough computers like in the classrooms for like the teachers and sometimes extra students. But like I don't know, just one like quantity of computers increased over time while I was in school. But two, like Apple IIe's, I think, were in my elementary school, and then up to like the first IBM PCs in middle school, and then like full on, Windows XP computers by the time I left. Um, I don't know. What do you remember?
For me, I think elementary school, I think there was a computer or two in elementary school, but not many. And then I had very little computer in high school. It was kind of unexpected that you did computer on your own. Like you
Hmm.
would use computer to write and print your work. And if you had to do that in the library, that was your problem. However you did it, then you figure it out. Because I didn't have any computer classes in high school.
Hmm.
And so
How big was your
there
school?
is like 1,200, 1,500 people.
Oh, interesting. That was about like the same
And
size as mine then.
there were computer classes. I just didn't take them. There were nor were they required. So it was,
Hmm.
yeah, it was on the side. I There were some, and you did have to take a a state level computer exam at some point,
Hmm.
and I remember because I think I attempted to cheat you had to, like, type, so many words, and
You
I, like,
cheated. My
typed the whole
gosh.
thing and then, like, because the instructions were to type this paragraph, and then if you finish typing it, type it more, and I finished it, which, reflecting on it is probably that was probably you know, a high passing, and then I was like,
Mhm.
"Well, but I wanna do more," so I, like, copy pasted some of it. So I was like, "I bet they don't have the technology to figure out if I copy pasted it."
Probably didn't, no.
Probably didn't. And so, yeah. But then in college, it was, starting in college, it was starting to I think it might have been my class that had a everybody has to have a laptop requirement, and then the laptop era. And
Mm,
now, like, I know elementary schools, like, they have Chromebooks, like, they especially after COVID, they had definitely had to have that, but, even before then, it was starting to be the Chromebook cart would could roll around to different classrooms, and you could have the cart. Mm.
yeah, yeah. And one of the other things I was thinking about is, not just, like, computers, which is, I think, what we tend to think of with most technology, but even, like, TVs and stuff, how that evolved. So I remember even in elementary school, we saw, VHS was a thing, so they had some VHS tapes we could watch, but then they also had, like, slide projectors and the 35 millimeter film reels, like, stuck on the projector machines, and,
Oh,
even
yes.
showed some of those, which is probably giving me a good dating of how old I am, but, yeah, pretty much those were gone by middle school. It was just all VHS tapes or, DVDs were slowly starting to pop out about then, um,
I have
and then
a tangent on the,
oh, yes.
starting to date of things, and it was that someone today had asked they're like, "Oh," because I mentioned my blog, and then they asked, "Oh, what's your blog link? I'd love to check it out." And then they, looked at it and they said, "Wow," and it goes back to 2010, and I was like, "Yeah, it sure does."
It sure does.
And then they asked how long I'd been programming, and I said, "I suppose professionally since 2010." And I didn't mean to be mean, but I could think it may have come off a little mean. But,
Yeah.
I
I
was
was
like,
redoing
"Wow,
my
sure
resume
is
and
a date."
I'm just like, "Oh, shoot. My first paid job was 2005." I'm like, "Holy crap."
Mm.
Like,
Yes,
that's 20 years now. I can put on my resume, I've been professional for 20 years. Like, dang,
right.
that feels old.
Yeah, I know, it sneaks up on you. And then in
Yeah,
computers,
yeah,
it feels, especially dire.
yeah,
Anyway, you were
yeah.
saying other technology
Uh,
other than just the computer, like the
yeah,
television,
yeah.
and
And
every classroom had a TV.
yeah, by high school, every classroom had a TV mounted on the wall. They could use it for videos, but they also had a thing where they could pump a video stream to every TV in the whole school for like morning
Mhm.
announcement shows and stuff.
We have morning TV even in an
Hmm.
elementary school.
Yeah. And so, yeah, top of the line technology. It was kind of funny because the other day I saw a thing where Anderson Cooper was saying, like, you got to start on a thing called Channel One. And I'm like, we watched that in high school. Like, I
On
remember
a thing
cute,
called Channel
adorable
1.
little Anderson Cooper on that show. It was kind of funny. And Lisa Ling. Um, yeah. So that's kind of where it started, and then I know kind of as I've continued to mentor and do other things sort of tangential to schools after I got out, started to see, oh, schools now have laptops that they can,
Mhm.
give students and, they can pull out laptops in the classroom and, put them away when they're done. And then eventually, to where students just have laptops or tablets or Chromebooks or all the multiple varieties of technology types that there are now, including like now schools just like give them to them. They just, get their own device to take home and use in class. And so you don't even need a computer lab because they just own their own device. now,
Mhm.
which is kinda cool, I definitely wish I had my own device back when I was in school, so I think that's definitely cool now, but I think there's some some thoughts I have, from that, but, um, and I also, just in the course of, like, TVs getting, larger and thinner, and so it's a lot easier to get, like, larger TVs that are clearer, and you can use them in classrooms, and, they don't have to, like, wheel them in anymore, but also, like, video projectors, you can just mount them on the ceilings, now you don't even have
Mhm.
the
It's not in your
equivalent of a real
way.
TV. Yeah, it's not the way. Um, and you can just stream stuff straight from the internet, so you don't even need to deal with VHSs and DVDs and 35 millimeter film projectors and all that. Um, but also, I was thinking about like overhead projectors,
I
little
was
clear.
just thinking about overhead projectors.
Yeah, like
They're pretty fun.
yeah, and we don't even need those anymore because there's now just like smart chalkboards you can draw on the computer and they can show up on the video projector and then you can save the screen and email them to students or whatever. So it's kind of I think sort of been kind of cool to see this evolution of technology and kind of how it's grown from there. What do you think?
I think there's a few themes that I'm hearing in that there's this theme of access stands out as a comparison because in terms of what I recall was having a, you know, good luck if you can, if you have it, access to
Yeah.
it, neat, good for you. Otherwise, figure it out.
Hmm.
Um, approach. Whereas it seems like there's been an evolution more toward more equitable access. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's true across, say, like all school districts, but it kind of seems like it's well, we're just going to standardize, you know, kind of approach. And that's pretty interesting. Um, the other thing that is less of a trend and more just a shout out to the probably vastly underappreciated IT departments of every school
Yeah,
and school
definitely.
district. I bet that they're doing so much work and that they're so unappreciated
Yeah,
or
definitely.
underappreciated because they do a whole lot, especially as we just described, like a whole lot more has expanded.
Because I feel like in elementary school, I remember like two IT people, and they just kind of managed everything and they seemed fine in their job and definitely not like super overwhelmed. But now you almost need like a whole staff to just manage
Yeah, it's
all
like
of
I
those
feel like it's probably
devices.
still
And
two people, but they're just asked to do absolutely everything
maybe,
in
yeah,
addition.
but I
Maybe
feel
not.
like a good sized school district has like staff in each school, but then also like staff among the whole district. And but there's
Yeah, I
still
mean, you
like
have to think about like provisioning machines and
mm-hmm,
wiping them. And if people do sketchy things on them, what do you do? And how do you,
firewalls and all the
oh
wireless
my gosh.
networking and um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's,
yeah.
don't
Blessed are
envy
the
that
IT
job.
folk that manage all those schools.
Truly.
Yeah. And I think you're right. Like I think some of it is a evolution of access to where, you know, richer schools obviously could bring in computers faster, but poorer schools or rural schools probably couldn't. But we kind of are at a point where there's definitely like probably most schools and probably most students have some sort of computer access. I mean, we
Especially
definitely know
once,
not all, but yeah.
right. I think the ubiquitous nature of smartphones and
Mhm.
if everyone has a pocket computer, then, educatees, also known as students, perhaps, should have access to computing resources
Yeah.
while they're doing things.
But
Because
also
that just
like
reminded me of,
libraries still
oh,
have
go
it
ahead.
too. And yeah. Oh, good.
Yes, libraries are major, major, major.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So, um, yeah, and you used to have to kind of like plug in computers into the walls because they weren't really that portable, but then we got, laptops, and so they were then more portable, and, but you had to plug in for internet, but now everything's wireless, and you don't even really have to, you know,
You're
wrangle
not
with cables
affixed
that
to a
much
certain
anymore.
station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just pick up your computer and set it on your desk and then just go right on to the next classroom and the next desk and stuff like that. So perhaps access in a physical manner of can you have a computer, but then also access in like how difficult is it to actually like deal with the computer itself? In which case nowadays it's not really that difficult to just kind of pick up and walk away with your device and just kind of pick up right where you left off. Yeah.
I'm just thinking something about that when you were talking about that, there was kind of an inherent assumption that access to the internet was part of computer access, and I thought that assumption may be a little
Yeah.
interesting.
When did you get internet access?
Uh, Middle school,
Hmm. Yeah, I think
and
that's about the first
yeah,
time I got it too. Um,
yeah, and that was also like that, when you talked about it at school, people did or didn't, and it was varied levels of access.
mhm. Yeah, but even like my parents absolutely would not pay for broadband internet while I was in school. And, I remember I had friends that very much were just like, oh, yeah, we got, cable internet here. And they had
Mhm.
fast internet. I did not at home. And,
They could internet
um,
without the
yeah, they were just kind of
Mhm.
always on and no screechy noises. And,
Mm.
but school was kind of interesting because they did have, the always connected internet in high school. And so I could just like, I don't know, do things there a lot faster than at home. Like if I wanted to look up something on the internet for a report or whatever.
Yeah, I'm thinking in high school, I think outside of I suppose probably history classes involved some writing, but it was English um, and, history, but then other everything else would be handwritten, right? Because 'Cause you'd be doing mathematics,
Mm, mhm.
and I spent a lot of my time in music education, and so you didn't have to type things. So
Yeah.
there wasn't really
Um,
much need for typing.
yeah, yeah. Um, and then even like, typing reports was still almost a little bit of a pain in early computing because you had to get out the word processor and it like printed. It took a while to print even just a sheet of paper, Just,
Mhm.
just a little
Yes.
print head went across and like a minute per page or something. It eventually got down to multiple pages per minute, but yeah, I don't know. It it evolved even in like the ability to do reports and stuff too. Um,
Do you ask your students ever, or do they you hear about, like, how school is different?
I haven't really asked. Um, what do you mean in terms of?
Like, do they what's expected of them? So, as we're talking about this, I'm thinking about I have some young relatives, and I'm thinking, "Oh, they're in elementary school, and, they're at the learning to write stage."
Mhm.
So, moving to typing is, hopefully not yet, but as far as the things I've seen in terms of the schoolwork has been all handwritten.
Yeah,
Um,
I have seen them do like math on paper. Um, so I know there's that. I doubt they have to like write reports or anything on paper. I've pretty much
mhm.
only seen them like type things out. Um,
So they
and
have
then like,
laptops?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So then that's a difference.
but they would just type them on Google Docs or whatever, and
Mm,
then send those in to teachers.
mm. And are
Um,
they using AI to do it?
uh, Probably mixed successes of using it or not and trying to hide it or not. depending on the student and depending on what the teacher lets them do. I think I want to get into that in a little bit because I think there's
Okay, okay.
interesting things.
I
But
won't mess with your
I
flow.
I think there's very much an ecosystem that's very confused right now on should we let them use AI or not use AI, and who's using it anyway, regardless of that. Those
Mhm.
kind of classroom rules. And yeah, I'll get a bit into that, but um, yeah. So one of the things I do kind of wonder is, there's all these studies that show like social media has impacts on people,
Mm,
predominantly for the negative.
mhm.
Even though it does have that capability to have like good connections, like you can get a hold of friends and see what they're up to, but then also just kind of like judge your life compared to other people's lives, even though those lives may not even be real. They might be pretty fabricated. Um, I kind of wonder what you think about as you've had more technology through your education and then through college, high school and then college. What do you think there's been good or bad effects on having all that as you went through either like during the time it happened or maybe like hindsight through it all? Does
I
that
think
make sense?
the sort of. I think let's chat through it and I'll see if I get it.
Yeah,
Is it it's I think the the nature of memory and experience is that you can't reflect on an experience you didn't have, and or it's not really a just comparison. Like there's nothing actually to compare to. And so the can only experience like the world as the lens that I have at each given time. And so the 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 availability of technology and also the idea of things being normal, I think I want to bring up that it's
hmm,
like whatever you experience as an individual is normal because it's your
yeah,
experience, and that's actually a bias. And so that experience, like using the technology, like I would say it was fine. Maybe it was neither good nor bad. It just was.
just was. Yeah,
And the I do think I don't know if we've referenced this story already in the show, but we'll do it again. But the I do think miss some of the this is internet related, less computer related, but the the act of scrounging for knowledge
uh-huh.
that was involved in research before the internet's ubiquity. So when I was in elementary school, my dad took me to the university library to do
Ah, yes,
research on the Underground Railroad, which is, one could say, a bit extra for a fourth grade project.
probably yes.
But but it's actually then formed like a core memory of because I think this was probably my dad getting way too into this and deciding that this could be a fun thing to bring me to. But instead of going to the school library and talking to the school librarian or going to the public library and talking to the public librarian, like, no, let's go to the university library and pull microfilm and look up microfilm related to the hometown. It was like the most, well researched fourth grade project, but and all the other fourth grade projects pretty much just used the materials the teacher handed out, which was
Oh, yeah.
also known as normal. And but it does tie back to this the the amount of like work to go get different flavors of knowledge or different
Uh-huh.
bits of information compared to the internet. I do have some nostalgia or, miss that. But then the counterpoint is very easily stated as the the access of the internet to get to these things without having to go to the university library and have all these levels of access. And would I pick one over the other? I'd probably pick the one where human knowledge is open and accessible and people can get to it, I would pick that. Just, any
Yeah.
day and based on, my accumulated experience. That said, it still is like, "Oh, that was a neat activity to go scrounging for information," and probably helpful in terms of the brain formation stuff of developing skills in terms of asking questions and, "Oh, if I don't know something, how am I going to find it out?" And not just say, "Oh, I don't know it, and my extremely easy way of finding out didn't know it, so I guess it's impossible to know," which would be my failure mode that I would describe for, if there's an addiction to ease of information, that if we give up on the pursuit of knowledge because it's hard or tricky or stop at the first level of depth rather than saying, but who's that person, how they, and why are they the source, and what qualifies them to be the source, and can I get other sources, and what information can I glean from that, and having that level of rigor and intellectual inquiry.
Yeah. I feel like you just pulled out your fancy educational accent towards the end.
I
Oh,
did. I was like, I
educational
want to make sure that
inquiry.
you know that I have a college degree.
What did college
Do
teach
you
you? That fancy
such
accent's what it
fancy
taught you.
accent?
Yes. You know I'm highly educated when I talk like this. And that's all I have is just like computers took away our fancy accents. That's what I no.
Ugh,
Oh,
wow. Get rid of them.
get rid yeah, yeah. No more computers. We need our accents back. Um, yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And, I do. So I went to college, dropped out for about 5 years and then went back to finish it. And, um, obviously in 5 years, technology changed a lot from
Oh,
when
that's
did I drop out?
interesting.
2006, and then I went back in
Mhm.
2011. Um, and so I had
And so
laptops.
when
They
you
were
hop
easy
back in,
to
there was
haul
a new
around.
normal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in that new normal. But very quickly it was just like, I'll take notes on the laptop. It'll be easy. And I realized like I didn't really like I took notes, but I didn't really remember anything because it just immediately like flowed through the brain, flowed into the computer. I wasn't really processing anything because I could type that fast. And so one of the things I quickly
Mm,
did was went back to taking paper notes
paper.
because in the act of
Well,
writing on paper, I actually
I was
remembered
gonna
everything I
say
was
is that
doing.
there's some research backing that in
Yeah.
terms of it, and it's related to the physical act,
Mhm.
even though you're touching a keyboard is still physical, but
Yeah.
that
But
somehow something about the maybe it's that we need clackier keyboards. The solution was clackier keyboards.
or
Is that enough
clackier pens and
tactile?
pencils. No, I'm kidding.
No, no, no.
I think some of it is because you write slower, you have to take in more information, filter it down, and then write out closer to a summary
Right,
than
because you
it
have to
is
you write a shorthand. You can't
you're
you
transcribing
can
it
as you type, you
almost.
can, yeah, write close to the speed of speech
Yeah. Yeah. And,
or
like, there's a
somewhere.
little bit of filtering when I do that too. Like, I can type fast, but not super fast.
Sure.
Um, but, not nearly to the extent that I do when I was writing, and I just remembered things better when I was writing. So just pretty much the remainder of my, 3.5 years of college, I wrote the rest of it, after realizing, like, computer notes weren't really cutting it for me. I mean, I still typed all my reports and everything on the computer, and all that, but, um yeah, and so I found it kind of interesting that, I ended up one of the few people that took paper notes, and,
Mm,
it almost made me in some ways feel kind of old, but I realized, like, "No, actually, it's really working for me, and you should do kind of what works
right,
for
and
you."
whatever
Yeah,
and also that's maturity is whatever tool is working for you is go with that.
yeah, yeah, so it has kinda made me wonder, like, what do students do nowadays? Like, are they taking paper notes, or are they taking computer notes, or are they just kind of handed notes from their teacher? I don't know. I haven't I'm not in the
Yeah,
classroom, so I don't actually know what they're doing, but that would be kind of a thing I would be kinda curious about.
and in watching someone I know teach at the graduate level,
Mhm.
they do send out their notes after every class,
Hmm.
but they also presume students to do their own thing. And this is in the world of having a hybrid course schedule too. So the course is partially online, partially in person. And so I yeah, I'm outside of taking Coursera, like doing things on my own and self-directed, I haven't taken a online university course or something like that. And I think it just sounds very difficult in terms of if I were a university student and I could just open my laptop and, not have my video on and, class is playing, like, it would be very easy to tune out. I'm a very motivated person, so I probably would still do things, but I just think it seems like it's a flavor of hard mode.
Yeah, there was a couple classrooms where, they streamed the teacher, but those were, like, huge classes, so, there was one, like, 7:30 in the morning chemistry class that was pretty much torture for me, but I would,
Ooh,
like, stream it from my house because I just couldn't always get myself to class on time, so I was just kind of like, still getting ready in the morning and putting on clothes and doing whatever as I was, like, listening to the teacher, like, talk and, trying to sort of, like, mentally take notes because he pretty much just, like, all the you could pretty much see all the slides afterwards, so it's almost like I didn't have
right.
to take notes, which may or may not have helped me or not helped me in that class, but, now I do think it's interesting. There's a lot more hybrid, but also just fully remote classes, especially after the pandemic.
Mhm.
And I know some students don't actually do very well with that, which, you know, for a world where the students are so extremely digitally connected, you would almost figure they would be fine. But I think they're kind of almost like the people before the pandemic too, who just like sometimes it just doesn't work. You need to really be in person together with people
Mhm.
and have that teacher in the front of the room talking.
Yeah, and have like, sharing physical space and air
Yeah.
and different needs.
Share the air. That
Share
need
the
we all
air.
need is sharing that air together. Yeah.
Share the air.
Share the air.
That's my new, I have a new benefit album coming out called Share the Air.
Share the air. Pam the Webivore shares the air.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm kind of maybe that's a start to a good segue on, kind of where does that, sort of implications for where we are now in the technology space in education. And some of that I think being, there's the actual technology of what does it mean to always have smartphones and computers and tablets and stuff just kind of everywhere in our lives and as well as the internet and just that full access to everything good or bad that is on the internet, I guess. But then also, you know, schools use Google everything, it feels like. What do they,
Mm.
just data privacy, what does that look like for students and
Yeah.
using all of these services all over the place? Especially as I don't know what one major company gets hacked every single day or something that whatever we're up to now. Um,
It's like, well,
mental health
given
and even more. I don't know. God,
given the, like, most schools' preferred budget for anything is 0, and the
true,
Google
true.
made an effort to do outreach and embed in schools as a strategy, um, seems like I don't know, that just gave me some, like, meow, 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 sadness that is like, well, can just see how it all happened and don't see the system is not built to create incentives to do other things. although, you know, like, I guess suppose, like, Khan Academy exists, but in terms of their, you know, and there's other nonprofits that I think that create educational tech tooling,
Mhm.
but if, you know, the like, making productivity tools for classrooms, but to make it free is like, well, only, in
Yeah.
capitalism, only if you have lots of money would you want to do that, and
Yeah, right.
your, motives to do so are to create, the next generation of Google consumers.
Mhm.
So that is just what you do.
Yep, pretty much. I
Yeah,
mean, in
good riddle.
college, I had you could pretty much get any Microsoft product you wanted for free for educational
Mm,
purposes, and so I think that was also just kinda like, "Hey, we can hook you on Visual Studio, and we can hook you on Windows and Office, and
mhm.
hopefully you'll
Well,
keep
that, like,
using those after you
Word
get
and
out
things
of
like that,
college,"
these
and
are,
mhm.
workforce ready skills,
Yeah. Yeah.
which has some reality. It does have
Mhm.
some
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
but that also at the same time does have, so yeah, Microsoft does also have, you know, they do have
Yeah.
an educational component too.
But I feel like they definitely didn't get into elementary school and middle schools and high schools
Yeah, they're
nearly
saying
so
it's like
fast.
the classroom thing and like the like Google
Mhm.
Classroom and like tooling around that
Yeah.
is really something.
Mhm. And when they're used to the products, what are they gonna use when they get right back up? More Google things.
Mhm.
Yeah. I also kinda wonder, I don't know if Google has ever been hacked, but a whole bunch of other companies have been and dumped so many data privacy things. I definitely worry about it. In the mail this week, I got a postcard that just got like, "You're involved in a class action lawsuit for some data hack at some company that's something, something, something."
Right.
And
Make
I'm just
sure you
like,
get
"Oh,
your,
good, another
$6.
one." Yeah,
Mhm.
another one. And I do wonder what does that mean for students who pretty much like as soon as they get into school are already subject to what happens if their information gets leaked out so early. Um,
Mm. Yeah. Well, and
because
there's a lot of systems, not just classroom, but
yeah,
Administravia.
yeah. But then even mental health, because, I think the pandemic was a good sign that, a lot of students suffered from not having good social interactions because they couldn't meet in real classrooms with real people. And what does that mean for the variety of hybrid classes and stuff that are still now? Like, um, have the students like are they back to where they were before the pandemic? Even though most schools are still meeting in session, or did it have an effect on them long term, both in
Yeah,
terms
I
of like
know, yeah, these studies are definitely, I imagine these studies are definitely going on. Someone's definitely submitted
yeah,
this, for funding to research this. And I think we might see some interesting data out of it in the next,
yeah,
honestly, maybe even soon because, 2020, 2026, that's, you know, 5, 6 years
yeah,
since 2020. So it's a solid cohort to look at.
mhm,
And I do wonder what we'll see. We do have standardized tests and things like that. So, they're, what you think of them, that's different opinions, but we do have ostensibly a measure. So that's one measure that can even say
or at
like,
least
hey,
like
did
y-
performance improve or
what has
decline?
changed over time. Yeah, even if
Hmm.
like the tests aren't necessarily that great at testing like educational retention or whatever. Like at least it's like a standardized metric you can look at over time, perhaps.
Right. For gathering data, it might be,
Hmm.
it sure is a data set, is what we can say about it.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's firmly say, sure sounds like a data set.
yeah. But even like one of the students I know, she just is in a online school now. She just after the pandemic was just kind of like, this works for me and my lifestyle and everything. So she's just now in an online school, and I mean, she is one of our better students, I think, in the program, and she's still super social with the people in person, and so it seems to work for her. But I think there's a variety of other students that probably would not do so well in a pure online only based school.
Mm,
In fact, I think I would want to be one of those people that would not do so well. And so I don't know. I wonder what that looks like as perhaps more studies happen to
yeah.
you look
It made me
thoughtful.
think that I wonder if if you have more time to do more kind of, intellectual wanderings, if online school allows you schedule flexibility and things like that and allows you
Mm,
to then get interested in other things rather than be
mhm.
just stressed out by your, locked in a building doing things.
Yeah, yeah. And then this might also be a good segue into the AI we were mentioning earlier about you had said like are students using AI or not? I'm like, oh. So I think part of it has been I'm with a working group trying to look at computer science education in Pennsylvania and how
Mm,
it's how can we the Pennsylvania standardize computer science education across the whole state. And a lot of
and
the
what
questions
age groups are you looking at?
K through
Like,
12.
is it K through 12? So computer science education for kindergartners, what does it look like?
It probably doesn't look like too much, besides basic like computer literacy in the early days. But um, I mean that's some of the questions we're trying to think over and standards around that and what are other states doing and stuff. But AI has definitely been one of those questions of it's kind of here. What do you do about it? And um, I know a lot of teachers are struggling with like we shouldn't let them use it. They need to keep building their thinking skills and research skills and whatever. But I think a lot of teachers are also saying if I don't bring it into the classroom now, they're going to bring it into the classroom and just hide it. And
Mm,
then, so how do you embrace that you can just ask this tool anything and it will give you answers? And how do you make that a part of the curriculum?
mhm.
And one of the simple things that one of the professors in my college was telling me earlier this year is he says you can use AI while you're programming, but you have to be able to explain all of it. You have to understand everything that's happening. If you can't, you don't pass. Um, so it can help you with code completion. It can help you with writing functions. It can help you with whatever you need it to. But you also have to understand what it is doing. And
I mean, that would that puts the programming students ahead of most professional programmers, I'd say.
probably, yeah.
That's
Um, but
not even I
I
mean,
think that's really important.
that shade is applied to all programmers pretty much of before AI, I mean, is that the changing stuff until it works, the most popular O'Reilly edition book. Um,
I
I do
mean,
think
I've
the difference
definitely done
between
that
a
too.
sure, but I think what makes you a good programmer is, having the questions to understand why it didn't work.
Yeah.
I learned a thing today. Can I tell you about it, Sarah? Today I learned that
Yes.
in JavaScript, the big int type, or that
Yeah.
lets you deal with big integers natively, doesn't handle decimals. So
Would that be because
it
it's
does
integers? Yeah.
that hush you, but you can hand it a string, and rather than and it'll take that string and turn it into a big int. But if you hand the string with decimal places, rather than just dumping the decimal places, it will say, I don't know what to do with this.
This is not a number I know of.
This is not, I can't
I know
get
all
out of
of the big
here.
integers, and this is not one of them.
Yes, and, so that was a bug I fixed today, and so I learned a thing,
You
and
learned a
I
thing.
can explain yeah, at
Did
least for
AI
now.
tell you that, or did you learn that on your own?
I learned it on my own, actually,
Oh, good for you. Good for you.
for what it's worth. Yeah, I was like, "Why can't it, like" although, wait, no, maybe I did ask AI. I was like and it was like, "Because it can't handle dish vessels," and then I did more experimentations to validate it.
That's
Maybe
fair.
I did.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes me think, when Stack Overflow came out, the
Yeah.
joke for so many years, like, oh, you don't need to know to program anymore. Stack Overflow will tell you how to program.
Yeah.
And I always found, no, I absolutely still need to know how to program because Stack Overflow is going to give me a bunch of garbage. And I have to smush that garbage into whatever garbage I already have and make it
Wow,
work.
that sounds so familiar.
And you need the skills to be able to morph that into the thing that works. And I think there's still going to be some of that need with AI because even as I've sort of experimented with it, I'm just like, hey, write me a function that will do this, or write me a script that will process this file and throw it in a database or whatever. And sometimes it's just wrong. Sometimes it would break. Sometimes I know it would, you know, do something
It's not an
wrong.
error-proof environment. It's an
Yeah.
error-prone environment to some degree,
Yeah.
and
And I think I need the smarts to know, you know, does this look feasible and will it work? Sure, it saved me some time, but if it's not going to work right, if it's going to break things along the way, it probably was not worth that time. Uh, you know, the time savings anyway.
I think
But
the thing that just came up that is a little bit away from your topic possibly, but you mentioned mental health
yeah, yeah,
and the use it like using LLMs by the youth
uh-huh,
and the impact on mental health is we've been talking about good and bad. I would call that one bad.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
using an LLM as a replacement for a therapist or as a place to get advice on how you could possibly harm yourself. And like
uh-huh,
these are things that it's it's very it's very scary. And I think something you said of you know, it's the tools are available, so then acting like they aren't available also isn't necessarily helpful. And so I think that
yeah,
is going to be an interesting thing. I think that, if they would just, to some degree, if they would just simply stop giving it away for free, that would probably
yeah.
do a whole lot. That would probably
Start
do a whole
actually
lot.
paying what it's worth. Yeah, I think
If
also.
you if you had to actually pay for it, you know,
Mhm,
random teens who have no money aren't going you know, to use it.
yeah,
And so that's probably if they wanted to actually do it, that'd probably be the easiest thing to do is just stop giving it away for free.
pretty much. Um, or, I don't know. I think there's also like the tiered model. Like I'm looking at JetBrains and, that if you pay for their products, they have like a smaller scale where you get so many credits for this price and so many more credits for this price. And then if you're just like I only AI code, you can get like a huge chunk of credits every month.
Mm.
I wonder if maybe that's the model that might help too, where, like I just ask it occasional questions versus I need it to do a whole bunch of help with my homework or, um, whatever too. Yeah, I think the long term implications is, like any tool, the ease of access to it. If I only hammers cost $1 and every other power tool costs, $600 each, the hammer looks impressively amazing for any possible task I would ever want to use it for.
Sure,
Um, you
sure
know,
looks like I could do that with a hammer.
yeah, I could do a whole lot with a hammer. Even though it's like probably not the right tool for, you know, a whole bunch of things. But um,
I do have
if
I realized I don't know if I mentioned this on the show, but I recently subscribed to paid search at Kagi,
Oh.
Kagi. Gonna
Mhm.
plug them. And so switching to paying $5 a month for search because DuckDuckGo, as much as I like them a lot, they have succumbed to just being full of AI slop in terms of just
A
the
little bit.
results.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying out paying for search. So I wanted to give that plug for on the you could just pay for things uh, idea.
I have started to try and pay for software in hopes that maybe they won't exploit all my data for,
Right.
you know, evil
It's,
purposes. Uh,
yeah.
it's probably not totally helping, but that's kind of been a philosophy I've been trying to do.
Right. And since we do it professionally, maybe we should pay other people who
Maybe,
do it
maybe,
professionally.
yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess back to education. I don't know. I think there's a lot of interesting things about where the youths are right now and how they're using technology and how it may be helping and or hurting in the long run. And some of it we probably have an idea about or just not doing anything about. And some of it I think we have absolutely no idea about. We just kind of have to play it out and see what happens. I don't know. I think it's kind of an interesting space to think about as I've looked at the teenagers I mentor a lot and
for sure. Well,
definitely kind
and
of wonder, like how are we building up these people that are going to go out into the world soon?
right. And what will and when they, in 20 years have their, you know,
Hmm.
podcasts that gets downloaded to our brain chips,
Of
what
course.
will they reflect on? And then, you know, see how my how the things have changed.
Yeah, they're virtual reality podcasts
Mm, mhm.
where they put on their
So we
face
can go
goggles and they can actually see the hosts there in the space with them. And
sit on but why do you even need like, well, if you have the brain chip, you don't need goggles, Sarah,
oh, true, you're right.
because your
Forgot
brain
about the
chip
brain
just
chip.
plugs right into your visual processor.
A friend of mine just got hearing aids, and she was like, "I'm so excited to get them. They have Bluetooth, and I can connect it to my phone. Then I don't have to hold the phone up to my head anymore." And I'm like, "Sounds a little weird to have a Bluetooth chip implanted into your head, but uh, yeah, I don't
But
know.
sure.
Whatever."
That's oh, it'd be so terrible if that gets hacked. Like, what if you rickrolled someone's hearing aid?
Oh my gosh,
That'd be
that's
so
amazing.
mean.
Do we want to explain what a Rickroll is to our younger audiences?
Oh, it's the "Never Gonna Give You Up" song, and it's just a
But
joke to
attached
trick
to a
people
link that is
into
not for that. Yeah,
yes, and so it's to be rickrolled is to be tricked into seeing this very catchy song,
yeah.
and it became a cultural touchstone
Hey, Pam, you should click on this link that is this cute,
for
adorable
no
puppy
reason.
taking care of a cat. And you click on
Oh,
it, and it's
great.
just Never Gonna
Yeah.
Give You Up by Rick Astley.
Mhm. Where does the roll come from?
I don't know. It's kind of funny. He was even slightly amused that people were doing that to his song.
Yeah, it's the and I do appreciate the people of internet culture who have taken the effort to make website explainers that explain internet culture, like Know Your Meme and things like that. I
I was
appreciate
just
their
on Know Your Meme
efforts.
today trying to figure out something.
Appreciate their efforts,
I
but it's
do,
please explain it to
especially
me
as memes propagate so much quicker over TikTok and Instagram
so
nowadays.
fast.
So many
Mhm.
memes. Yep. I can't keep
So
up with
many.
them all. Um, yeah. So I don't know. That was my deep dive down technology and education and
Yeah,
I
thanks
guess
for
how it
bringing it up,
affects
Sarah.
society.
Thanks
Uh,
for wandering us down that path.
yeah, sure. You're welcome. The next time you will be bringing us a topic.
Yes, I have an idea.
Ooh,
So,
I look forward
yeah,
to it.
but I think we might take a couple might be a couple weeks for the next one because we've got some fall holiday coming up
Oh yeah, the big
that will
holidays.
Yeah.
Turkey
They
Gobble
come and
Day and,
oh my gosh, though,
uh,
but you know what it means? I
Pine
think,
Tree
like,
Day.
we'll do yes, the, glorious pine tree day.
Yeah,
The evergreens are
the
evergreen.
8 Candle Day. Um,
Mhm, mhm. 9 depending on how you count,
yeah, true.
but there's a yeah, bonus candle. But, yeah, we are almost we're just a few short weeks away from 2025 in review or,
Oh, cool.
year of reflection, the New Year's episode.
We'll have to
So,
pull out those archives and review what happened this year.
yeah.
Get out that microfilm at the university library and see what happened.
Mhm. Try to make sure we highlight the good news
Mhm.
as well,
And then
and
AI and
then AI. And you can hear all that on the next episodes of Ignore All Previous Instructions. Thanks for listening. Please do like and subscribe and write us a nice review on iTunes if that's what you use, or Apple Podcasts. That's, I guess, what it is. I don't know. Napster, whatever you're using.
yeah.
If you liked it, tell somebody. If you didn't, tell no one. And until next time, Sarah.
Until next time, Pam.